Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's a rainy Tuesday morning in Richmond, Virginia. But back in the day, we used to say April showers bring May flowers. So that's what we're looking for. Richmond has exploded in green, and I love that. Spring is definitely my favorite time of year, I guess I should say. Yeah, spring would be my favorite type of year too. I guess if there's a type, I'd say spring. Today we're going to talk about, so I'm Karina, I'm the midwife at Embrace Midwifery Care and Birth Center. And hi, Amy. And Amy is our office manager extraordinaire. She's amazing. She handles so much for us here. Today I want to talk a little bit about when to go in labor, or how do you know you're in labor? I hear this question all the time. Doulas, hi Heidi, hear this question all the time. When do you know you're in labor? When do you know to go to the hospital or the birth center or to call your midwife? And it's one of those questions that I kind of think is like looking for or panning for gold, right? So you think you see it, you think you see it, you think you see it, and then all of a sudden, like there's no doubt, that's it. And that's a lot how labor is. Most women have a period of warm-up. And so we call that prodromal labor. Hi, we call it prodromal labor. We call it toning contractions. We call it warm-up. What we don't call it anymore is false labor. So false labor is false. It's not unusual for women to have a couple of hours of real labor. The contractions are mild, they're spread out a ways, and that can go on a couple of hours and then it can go away. So ladies, listen, if it goes away, be thankful. Eat your dinner, take a good nap, go to sleep for the night. It's okay, it'll come back. I promise it's not gonna go away forever. But what a wonderful way for our body to start warming up, start getting in the zone for delivering a baby, for birthing a baby. But here's the thing, those toning contractions, that warm up labor, that kind of roller coaster ride that you sometimes go through for as much as a week or 10 days for first time moms sometimes, it's moving your cervix forward. So normally a cervix points toward our tailbone. A cervix should be pointed posterior. So during that early labor that comes and goes, or that is maybe starting the warm up, that cervix is moving to the front, because of course we have to line the cervix up with the vagina to birth a baby, right? So that's our first thing. We also start to efface, and efface just means that our cervix becomes thinner and thinner. And a normal cervix, an average cervix, is maybe 3.5 to 4.5 centimeters. Every woman's unique. So that cervix has to go from pretty thick all the way down to paper thin. And what happens is it's actually pulled up into the uterus. So as the cervix thins, what's actually happening is that cervix is pulled into the lower uterine segment and it's thinning up into there. So our cervix gets ripe, it gets mushy, it feels like maybe a ripe pear where it just has lots of give. And then it gets thin, it points forward, our baby moves down, and all of that is happening during the warm-up period usually. So in that warm-up period, whether it's lasting 10 hours or whether it's asking 2 hours and letting you go back to sleep, I want you to eat, to drink, to take a nap. Do life. Do what you normally would do. And if labor needs you, it will get your attention. I promise. I promise. I promise. So once we kind of make peace with the fact that your body might need to warm up for several days, we can start to just enjoy those little previews, right? And then take our break. And then the next day, maybe we get another preview and we take a break. And that's good work. That's not for nothing. That's good work. It lets you practice your breathing a little bit, lets you kind of get an idea of what's coming, but you also get a chance to rest. So I think that that's a great start to labor. Now, if it goes on and it's bothering you, you can't sleep, you're becoming exhausted, what I want you to do is talk to your provider. But my first recommendation is always to drink some extra water, to take a nice dose of magnesium. Magnesium usually will soothe an irritable uterus and let you get some rest. So those are some simple tricks that you can kind of get a break. The other thing is it's safe, or as safe as we know things can be in pregnancy, because of course we tend to know that nothing's 100%, right? But it's often recommended and safe to take a Benadryl and get some sleep with a Benadryl. Take a Tylenol PM and get some sleep. Rest yourself, because labor can take a while, especially again for first-time moms. So we want you to be really well rested. So now once we get through that prodromal labor or that early labor, and now it's starting to pick up, the question is this it? Is this it? I've been practicing for a week, Karina. Is this it? And here's what I want you to know. There's lots of things that people kind of hear about as signs of labor. I had a little diarrhea. I feel nauseous today. I folded all my baby socks for the third time because I'm nested. None of those are signs of labor. Even the illustrious mucus plug. So as a midwife, not unusual to get a picture of a mucus plug. So a mucus plug looks like a ball of thick snot. It's thick, it's not our normal discharge. That mucus plug's job is to actually protect the baby, so it plugs the cervix during pregnancy. But here's a secret, ladies. It just comes back if you don't go into labor and you lose it. So you can lose a chunk of mucus plug. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean much of anything. So what we want you to do is ignore that. Now, so all of those things, right, don't mean a lot. They just don't. But here's what does. I want you to think about this. There's 3 really good signs for me as a midwife that things are about to get serious, okay? So the one sign that I tell mamas that I want them to give me a heads up is bloody show. Now, bloody show is not mucus. Mucus can come with bloody show, right? Or bloody show can come with mucus, but bloody show always is red. So if it's brown, that means it happened a few days ago. Not so important to us as we start to see if this is labor or not. But red blood is a sign that things are happening. And in my experience, almost always we'll have a baby in 24 hours if we see red show. Now, a smear on your toilet paper or a spot in your panties is fine. That's just a sign your cervix is changing. If you are bleeding like a period, you need to get your fanny to the hospital or give your midwife a call ASAP. So bloody show is just that. It's a show. It's not bleeding. Bleeding is not the same. So bleeding is a warning sign that we need to do something different. But bloody show just means, hey, my cervix is changing today. It's making some moves, and we're probably going to go into labor here soon. So bloody show is always something I want to know about as your midwife. The other thing is if you're leaking fluid. So here, again, it can be a little tricky. Lots of mamas leak a little urine late in pregnancy, right? Like we stand up and we're still a little dribbly, or we sneeze. So a lot of times we'll hear from moms saying, I don't know if I've ruptured my membranes or not. I don't know if I've released my waters. So I have a magic trick that will let you know for sure that it's not urine. And the other thing that we get confused on, ladies, okay, ready? This isn't PG. We're going PG-13 maybe. Semen. So if we make love with our partner and then we lay there for 30 minutes and we stand up and we've got to dribble, sometimes that feels like maybe some fluid. Because semen liquefies once it's in us and it's at body temperature in us. So here's how you tell the difference between semen, between urine, and actual fluid. You go to the bathroom, you pee as much as you can pee, and I want you to dry yourself with a towel, like really, really, really well. Get yourself nice and dry. And then I want you to put on a skirt and walk around for 30 minutes while you lift and massage your belly. Lift and massage your belly and walk and kind of do a hip wiggle. I'm on my ball as usual, so get on that ball, do a wiggle. If fluid is still dribbling down your leg, it's probably amniotic fluid, okay? So urine doesn't continue to do that, semen doesn't continue to do that, but if we continue to dribble over the course of that half hour, you need to call your provider. Now here's the caveat. If that fluid is green or brown in any way, we want you to call us right away, okay? So we know if it's green or brown, it's not urine or semen, so then we want you to give us a ring. The other thing that sometimes moms get confused about or get concerned about late in pregnancy is just leukorrhea, which is literally white blood cells that become really copious. There's lots and lots of white blood cells in our vagina. And that's that extra discharge you get, and sometimes that can feel pretty wet. So again, dry yourself well, walk around while you lift your belly, and if it continues to dribble, you're probably leaking water, and we probably need to know about that because, again, baby's coming, right? Like once we rupture our membranes, we know that we need to have a baby within a reasonable period of time. Now, the final one, the sign that ends all signs. Contractions, right? The surges that we wait for, that we practice for, that we take classes for, that we go to Joy and learn about hypnobirthing for. Contractions do something in labor that are different than those toning contractions. So toning contractions or practice contractions, prodromal labor is sporadic, erratic. It comes, it goes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes. We might have another contraction. That contraction might last 30 seconds, it might last 2 minutes, but here's the deal. Contractions that make your cervix open, that make it open. So those contractions, remember, are repositioning our cervix, thinning our cervix, moving our baby down, but contractions that cause the cervix to open are generally, they meet a few criteria. They generally start in your back and wrap around to your belly, okay? So they start in your back, got a little backache, they wrap around. They have a peak. So they warm up. Oh, yep, this is as tight as it's going to get. And they come back down. So they have like this wave motion, right? So that's a sign that it's a contraction. Practice contractions tend to be tight and gone. So that's the second thing. And your sensation, Joy, is that the right word? Of that contraction, of that surge is going to also build and come back down, okay? So wrap around from the back, build to a peak and come back down. The other thing that can happen with real contractions, with contractions that I shouldn't say real because they're all real. Let me say with contractions that are changing the cervix. Let me rephrase that. So the other thing that can happen with those is they can get closer together and longer. So when we start our labor journey, a lot of times our surges are 30 minutes apart. Those surges maybe 30 seconds. Like, yeah, that felt tight in my back, a little bit of tension. And then next thing you know, they're 20 minutes apart and they're lasting 45 seconds. And you're like, yeah, those are coming to the front now. And then eventually what's going to happen is they're going to get closer and closer together, stronger and stronger, and they're going to last longer. So contractions that change your cervix are, ready for this? Longer, stronger, and closer together. Those are your 3 words that tell us that your body is actually moving into a very active labor pattern. So contractions that are longer, stronger, closer together. Leaking fluids, bloody show. Those are the signs that I want to hear about if I have a mama going into labor. Now the question then becomes, when do I call? When do I go to the hospital or the birth center? When do I come in? So here's what I say. If your baby is moving well, you feel okay, and you see a smear on your toilet paper of a little bit of blood at 2 in the morning, you do not need to call your provider. They're okay with it. Call them first thing in the morning, let them know that things are starting to shift. If you see a trickle, it's okay. As long as the fluid is clear, as long as baby is moving, you can just let that have an hour or two, kind of let it start to move, and then let us know. I always want a mom to come into Embrace first and foremost is if she wants to, right? So all the numbers in the world don't mean anything if you're struggling in labor for any reason. If your baby's not moving well for any reason, if you feel you need a midwife or a doula, you're coming in. We want you to come see us. So that's the first thing. You come into us when you want to come into us. But normally, mamas do best at home. It's your toilet, it's your food, it's your bed, it's your TV, you're running the show. So as long as everything is fine, it's okay to continue to do your surges, work your labor at home, and then come to the hospital or to the birth center. Or call your midwife to do a home birth, because I see Miranda there, who's a up-and-coming home birth midwife here in the community. So here's the thing. As midwives particularly, we're going to be there as soon as you need us. At the hospital, they generally will tell you to come in as soon as your labor starts to warm up. They want to see you if you're starting to, if you feel like there's a leak of fluid. They want to see you if you start to see bloody show. They want to see you if your contractions are getting, steady. One thing to remember, now I always want you to go to the hospital if that's what your provider tells you to do. You go when they tell you to go. But what I want you to remember is that the sooner you go to the hospital in labor, the more likely it is that you'll have interventions that you may or may not want or need, okay? So always listen to your provider if you're not getting care here at Embrace. Always, always. They're the experts on you and your labor, and that's what you chose, and we want you to honor that. But here at Embrace, and for most home birth midwives, I'll speak for most of them, not for all, bloody show, fluid, contractions that are longer, stronger, or close together, give us a heads up. We provide care for a number of women, and we need to get everything situated. So for me, when I know that a mom's warning up, I want you to be in touch with your doula, because everybody here gets a doula, so we want you to call your doula. We want to give we have RN birth assistants here. We want to give them a heads up. And then we want to arrange our schedules. We want to arrange our appointments. We want to prepare your room so that when you walk in, you are just greeted by candles and aromatherapy and something beautiful and not something stressful. So we love the heads up, even if it's not time for you to come join us yet. Remember, ladies, it's your labor, and labor and birth is a natural process for most mamas. 95% of women, it's rumored, actually are healthy and happy and just needing to have a baby at some point. So remember to just keep that in mind. Process is normal. Go in when you need help or when you feel like you need support, and we're here for you. We do tours at Embrace every Tuesday at 1, every Saturday at 10. They're no obligation, and we'd love to meet with you and hear a little bit about what you want for your birth. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.